Hi there, this is my channel, Jaru Walks. In the year 2024, I will embark on an epic walking journey across the United States. I plan to hike 8,000 miles and to cross the US 3 times, via the Appalachian Trail, Pacific Crest Trail, and Continental Divide Trail. In the hiking world, this is known as a calendar year Triple Crown and has been completed by only a handful of hikers in history. The calendar year Triple Crown has traditionally been completed by jumping within or between the trails throughout the year, primarily to avoid snow, but also to avoid other seasonal hazards such as floods, extreme desert heat, and wildfires. For my attempt, I'm trying to hike each trail on a continuous, unbroken, end-to-end footpath, and to accomplish this, I must hike across all 4 seasons. I will be posting weekly updates along the way, so you can join me for the journey. Wish me luck. Alrighty, morning of day 11, starting at 7:30 a.m. So I'm now 11 days in, and I've still not met a thru hiker hiking on the trail. Like, I've met people in town and camping on the side of the trail, but I haven't actually met a thru hiker walking on the PCT yet. And I feel like for me personally, on some level, I feel like I haven't met a real thru hiker until I've met someone walking on their feet on the trail. And then when I ask them, are you a thru hiker? They say yes. Like, I feel like when I met someone who's actually walking on this trail, then I'll have met a thru hiker. I'm just curious when that's gonna happen. I think it should be any day now. I can just feel that I'm approaching the outskirts. So I think it could be today, could be tomorrow, could be 2 days. If it's more than 3 days from now, I'll be shocked. And I hope that when I meet the first hiker, it'll be like the trickle. And as I keep going, it'll just be like, boom, smack myself into, like, I turn a corner and then there's like 6 people seated, hanging out. Not that I really have time to chat with people. I've never been on a trail and seen that. You know what I mean? Like, I hiked the entire Arizona Trail, which very few people hike it. Then I hiked the AT in the winter. Now I'm hiking the PCT 2 weeks behind the last person to start. Or I guess a little over a week after the last people to start the trail for the year. And I just have never encountered anything like a bubble. So I'm hoping, like, not only will obviously I'll meet some people on trail, but I hope at some point it's going to click, like, oh wow, there's just like a ton of people in this hostel who are all hiking the trail. Or, oh wow, there's all these people under the shade under this tree. Like, when that moment comes, I think I'll know that it has arrived. I'm almost thinking like it almost feels like it's not going to happen, because I would have thought I would have met people by now. Obviously that will happen at some point if I don't get injured. But I don't know, because I've just spent so much time hiking, and pretty much it's always only been me. It almost feels like that just doesn't happen for me. So we'll see. Biggest snake I've encountered on trail so far. I'll walk around him. Boom, 300. So I'm approaching the hot springs up here. As soon as I turned the corner, I immediately saw at least one person. I feel like there's a couple of people down here. I wonder if they'll be locals or maybe thru hikers. Almost stepped on that. Holy cow, that was 6 inches from my foot. Right there. It was right there. And when I stepped right there, it recoiled back and sizzled at me. Holy cow. That was wild. I'm just walking, I step, and then the snake jerks back with its mouth open and is rattling. So that was a rattlesnake. So I can check that animal off the list. I have now encountered a rattlesnake. That was crazy. I mean, I was within 6 inches of it with my foot, and it didn't even realize I was there because I came up over a hill and then stepped right down, and it like literally it jumped back like it was surprised, like it was startled, as was I. So pretty cool. All right, we're getting to one of my favorite parts of the day, specifically when I'm in a canyon and on the good side of the canyon, which if you can see, I'm in the sun here, but on that side of the canyon it's all shade. So I was like, dude, this guy didn't even rattle, but he is definitely a rattlesnake. I stepped, as you can imagine, right there when I saw him and jumped forward, but he's pretty chill. Dude, everybody's just hanging out on trail out here. Don't get any respect at all. I mean, I thought that rattlesnake was pretty stupid, just hanging out there with his tongue out on the trail. But then I meet that lizard, starting to think maybe the rattlesnake's smarter than I thought. Finally out of the canyon. Guess that was called Deep Creek. Let's go check this out. Alrighty, I took a little pause here to have, I guess, what you would call dinner. It feels like you eat so much, there's no real relationship to breakfast, lunch, and dinner anymore. But yeah, it was nice. I had a little shade here. People are driving their off-road vehicles out there. But anyway, yeah, I just took a break here. My plan is to keep hiking and see how many more miles I can get in for the day. I'm trying to bump my daily mileage average up to something like 28 miles per day, and ideally eventually to 30 miles per day. But if I can get it eventually up to 28 miles per day for my daily average, that would kind of put me at the lowest end of what I'm shooting for. So that would be like a real milestone for me to get it my daily average up to 28 and then to do my best to maintain it. I know from the AT, it's very easy to get locked in the trap of like whatever your initial mileage is. And then after a month, it's like discouraging because you can't really influence it, more than by a couple tenths of a mile per day. And so if early on now here in the first, or I guess second week, while the moon's popping out, I'll speak quickly, in the second week, if I could increase my mileage a little more significantly, I could actually quickly see an increase in my daily mileage average, and then from that, I think be a little more motivated to maintain it. But I'm gonna cut the camera around to see the moon. Look at that. That, I believe, is a black widow spider. I just walked through its web and it dropped to the ground. You can see the little red marking on it. I've been walking uneventfully across this trail for something like 10 days, no danger. And then in one day, I almost stepped on 2 different rattlesnakes. I think that if you're stepping within 6 inches of a snake, we can call that a near step event. And then I walked through poisonous spider's web, all in the same afternoon and evening. I feel like in the camera, that wall looks like it's 10 feet tall, but in reality, it's probably 300 to 400 feet tall. That is a dam, and it's big. I've actually been looking for a camping spot, and I'm like low on water and in between water sources by a couple miles. This is not listed on Far Out on the hiking app, but that is absolutely flowing water. And then if I look over here, I can see very flat sand. Sand's about as good of a material as it gets to sleep on, and it doesn't get any better than when it's flat sand. And I can tell people have already camped here from these rocks that are set up in square patterns. I read online that this area out here has a ton of bear activity at night, including like 2 teenage bears that don't have a parent that will harass you at night. And so anyway, I'm seeing this trash bag out here, and it makes me think they picked this trash up elsewhere and then ripped it apart out here. So, sign of bears. Yeah, I'm pissed off and hot too. So somewhere up here at this road, there's going to be a water cache, I'm pretty sure. So my plan is to drink about 1 or 2 liters to just saturate my body with water from my current supply. Then I'll replenish those empty bottles with the water cache. So then I'll be carrying something like 4 liters on my back, and I'll have 2 liters in me. So I probably won't need to drink again for 3 hours if I had to guess. And then you can see the sun's rising over here and the light's casting out over here. You can see that there's a big hill up here, kind of like I'm in a valley between canyons. I have no idea if I'm just gonna spill over into a flat desert with direct sunlight, or if those walls will maintain. But I hope that the hill stays and then I can just ride the left side of it and stay in the shade, because if so, I could stay in shade for the next 3 or 4 hours probably, maybe until 10 or 11 a.m. If I had to guess, I don't think I'm gonna get that luxury, but who knows? One can hope. Ridgetop cruising. Yeah, something like 10,000 feet. Working my way up Mount Baden this morning. Where I camped was about 1 mile from the peak. And then once I get to the top, it'll be relatively downhill from there all the way to the next town in 78 miles, which is Agua Dulce is the next town, where I will resupply. I'm gonna try and make it there in 2 days. At least that's the plan. Well, I think on the second day I'll camp out somewhere just before it so that I can get in the morning and charge stuff, because no point in going in late at night when everything's closed. But looking forward to more downhill once I get up here. Having flashbacks. And the result of that is that there's literally no shade. And it's hot. It's crazy. Like, I can hike 10 miles and crush them. And then past noon on a hot day, when all the trees are burned and there's no shade, 1.5 miles up a mountain murders you.
There are these moments where you leave one set of mountains up there and go on to the next. I'm not saying it's a new mountain range, but it is. Leaving one experience and going on to another. So this is the first view of whatever it is that's next to come. I assume that didn't happen recently, but I will investigate. So I'm on a 17 or 18 mile water carry right now, which wouldn't be that big of a deal, but my bag, or backpacking pack, side pocket just runs kind of loose. And since the last resupply, I lost 2 bottles on trail. One was a small one, the other one was a full liter though. And so my carrying capacity as of right now is roughly 2 liters of water. And it's a pretty big stretch to make it, if it's hot out. Like 10 miles on 2 liters is kind of hard. But I have 17 to 18. So I kind of dug through my bag looking for something that could be waterproof, and I found a peanut M&M's bag that has like a Ziploc top to it. It's like a family sized one. They call it family size. It's like, I don't know, massive. And so anyway, I filled that up with water, and I'm planning to drink from that first once I get thirsty. So one snake just slithered right across, and then right there is another snake. And that, I can't see the rattle, but I'm pretty sure is a rattlesnake. And it's looking right at me. He's not moving. Alright, I'm gonna walk around it. Dude, that thing is scary. But animals don't attack you for no reason, so I'm gonna be fine. It's definitely in a striking stand. Okay. Made it out of that one. Stuff like this pisses me off. This is the PCT, but someone blocked the trail off, so I'm gonna completely undo this construction. Finally in a little bit of shade here. This is all the water I have left. And it's a hot day. It feels like the desert's getting hotter as I'm moving north, which could just be the random fluctuation in temperature. due to weather changes, or it could be true that I'm just getting into a hotter section in the desert, but it could also be that I've been hiking for longer in the desert. But definitely hotter and harder, I think. So I think I'm gonna down this, and then I'm about 1 mile away from where I think the next water is, so fingers crossed that there's water there. Alright, there's supposed to be water back here in this notch. I feel like there's like a 50% chance I'll see a person here. No people, but that is water. That looks good. Okay, so like for the first time today, I'm in a little bit of shade. I'm sure it won't last more than like 20 minutes, but I'm just contrasting this trail that I'm on right now, working my way up this ridge to what you see out over here. So it's 5 p.m. The sun's not setting, but the sun's hidden back here behind these bushes, so you can see it right there. But it's dipping down below the ridge line, and thanks to these bushes right here, keep me in the shade. But when you look out here, it's all just straight sun, and I couldn't even really tell you where the trail runs. It's so confusing, but basically I think I came along that hill and then tucked back that way, and then generally came from that direction up and over the hills. But if you look out here, you can kind of get a sense of what it looks like. It's just these rolling hills as far as the eye can see. And then if there were ever any trees, they've all the trees in this area have been burned down by what I assume are several different fires. I mean, not kidding, look, every tree's burned. And that's just in this little valley. But if you went up and over to the next valley, you would still see burned trees for the last like 5 or 10 miles, I think. Which is sad for the trees, but it's also makes it more challenging for me, because whatever shade I would have received from those trees is unavailable. So I called it out before, I think it was last night when I was crossing that road, and I just remarked that I was crossing from one kind of mountain grouping to the next one. That's not based on some knowledge of geology, geography, or topography. It's just kind of a gut feeling when you're going up and over a ridge, and you can sense that the next, 20 or 30 miles are just a little different from the last 20 or 30. And so anyway, I just went over a ridge right up here from where it was more like kind of rolling hills with prairie and dead trees, and now into something similar but greener. And this is the next grouping, so pretty cool. On the AT, I would frequently lament how one of the hardest challenges of the AT was the just grueling and grinding monotony. No joke. 1,500 miles of rhododendron bushes and maybe 2 or 3 different trees from Georgia all the way up to, I would say, maybe Pennsylvania is where it really started to shift starkly. And that's not a personal attack against the AT in those states. It's just a statement of fact, a non-controversial statement to any thru hiker, generally speaking, who's hiked the AT. That was just such a challenge, and so I'm just trying to contrast that now with the PCT, where you're seeing, at every point I can look out, right? Like I can look 20 miles out right now. And B, almost in 24-hour cycles, or every 30 miles approximately, you're shifting out of one kind of distinct ecosystem into something similar, but at the same time very different. And so I don't have that same problem of mental monotony on this trail. I have a sense of kind of exploration and adventure where I don't really know when I'm going to turn the next page or corner and see something new, but wow, it's happening at the pace of every, like, I would say like 1 to 3 days, just boom, something new. And so that's definitely kind of the reputation that this trail had. And I'm excited that the reality so far has met with the expectations. And somewhat excited to know that many people who've hiked the whole PCT regard this as like the least quote unquote desirable section. I'm walking down the path and I'm buckling my belt because I just filled water up right there. And I stepped over that rattlesnake. It was on the trail moving across. My right foot was 3 inches from its tail. So that is the third time in the last like 3 days that I have stepped within 6 inches of a rattlesnake. That was the craziest one though. Like, it was most of the way off the trail, but I didn't even see it until like my left foot was swinging over and my right foot was just a couple of inches from it. I was moving kind of quickly down the hill, so I think I caught it off guard and I spooked it and it just shot right into the bushes. All the more reason to watch your footsteps carefully out here. This is a good representation of what the terrain looks like on average out here. Like if you just dropped a pin and said, you know, what do I see out here? This is roughly what it's looked like for the last however many miles it's been, 430. Just these rolling mountainous hills. It's a thing I keep like emphasizing to someone that's never been out on one of these trails. Like when you see the mileage, just remember it's in the desert in the hottest part of the year, and it's not flat like a city street, it's this. Everything's look like that. And what you're doing is just